This call is now being recorded.
Hello, everybody. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Dun, 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 dun. Merry Christmas to everybody. Master Blaster Podcasters taking off our political hat for a second to talk some Christmas or a Christmas special episode. Dirty Mouth is here. Dirty, how you doing?
Ouch.
And I am Dylan. So we'll talk about Christmas stuff, Christmas movies, Christmas songs, growing up, what was it like where we lived, the time period we lived in, at Christmas time, Christmas gifts, both giving and receiving. Now Christmas is a hard time of year for some people. And what else? Maybe some Christmas foods, anything that's fun Christmas talking points, we'll hit that. So let's start out. Before we get into the movies and songs, or this could segue into this Dirty, what do you think of when you think of Christmas?
I think of family and all the movies that come out and the music, trees being lit up, giving gifts.
Well, what about Christmas?
Family.
What do you have to have at Christmas?
What do I have to have at Christmas?
Yeah, what's like a Christmas necessity every year? Do you have something like a dish or a movie or a sweater or an activity?
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I play that. I play Elf. I play Christmas Carol. I play Santa. There's this one movie with Kurt Russell, Christmas Chronicles. He plays Santa. That's pretty good. I don't know. I just go get the movies and then I turn on on YouTube. I go and put on my Christmas music mixes, and they have like thousands. So it's pretty cool.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll tell you what, where we live, when you're talking about Dirty, the only place you lived, I guess California would not have Christmas-like weather, but you're in Alaska now, I'm in Chicago.
Right.
You were in Chicago, I was in St. Louis, which still gets cold, not as much snow, and of course I was born in Seattle, more rain than snow, and on the East Coast, though, I moved there when I was about 5 years old and had a lot of white Christmases. That's what it really reminds me of Christmas, maybe a little bit of snow, certainly some cold weather. It's an inside holiday more than an outside holiday, comparing to like 4th of July or maybe Labor Day or Memorial Day, those kind of holidays. So the other thing, too, is that Thanksgiving is really considered the holiday of food, but Christmas, I remember growing up, Thanksgiving was really just a day of like lots of turkey and pie, I guess, and you have that ad nauseum for some days after that. Christmas was a little different because there's kind of a lead up to it rather than just the day. Lots of people do some things leading up to Christmas, whether it's 12 days of Christmas or you can hear lots of Christmas songs beforehand. It really starts long in advance. In fact, sometimes it starts like September 1st as far as consumerism was concerned. Christmas is more like Christmas cookies, all the great colors, lots of red and green, and Christmas candies and all these kind of things. Let's actually start off with songs and movies, in fact, specifically movies. I know you mentioned a few, what are your favorite Christmas movies that kind of get you in the mood? Is there anything that gets you a little emotional, makes you think about childhood?
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, again, like I said, even though it's Thanksgiving movie, it's a good Christmas movie as well. Die Hard.
Yes, definitely takes place during Christmas, even if it's in LA, there's no snow, but
right.
Great. And in fact, it came out, I remember seeing that at the theaters when it came out the summer of of 88, but it was filmed,
Yeah.
I think, during the Christmas time of 87.
Mhm.
So while it's being, like, the story takes place at Christmas time, which is great.
Love it.
I myself am partial to, my favorite Christmas movie of all time by far is A Christmas Story. The little Ralphie,
Yeah.
that Red Ryder BB gun, the redheaded bully that's chasing him around. The family is hilarious. The Chinese restaurant scene is very funny. That's something actually, and if you do watch it is something that's on every year on a Turner channel, TNT or TBS, one of those. Shows it 24 hours, I think starting 6 p.m. on Christmas Eve. Rarely a year goes by that I actually miss watching that at least once. I'll tell you what, though. A couple of other Christmas specials. By the way, one movie that I would recommend if people want a comedy for Christmas is a movie called Trapped in Paradise. And it was made maybe 94, 95, right before it was Nicolas Cage, Dana Carvey, John Lovitz. Also the guy from Dirty, you and I talked about him the other day. One of the cops from Beverly Hills Cop who was also in Midnight Run. I forget the guy's name.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he has mustache, kind of bald, very good character actor. He's in that movie as well, plays one of the local township folks. I guess they have to go to they're in New York. It's before Nicolas Cage blows up as an action guy, when he still did regular movies. And I guess something happens and they have to go to some small town there. It's ridiculous. The beginning is ridiculous, kind of. They get accused of stealing something and they have to get out of New York and they go to Paradise, New York, or it's Paradise, Connecticut, wherever the hell it is. And basically Dana Carvey is hilarious. So if you're looking for a good Christmas movie, John Lovitz is great. Nicolas Cage, the cast is fantastic, very good comedy. One other I would severely recommend if you're looking for a horror movie and we did our top horror movies by decades, 70s, 80s, 90s, and 21st century. I did not see this movie when we did best horror movies in the 1970s, because if I did, it would have been in the top 5, and that's Black Christmas. It is a tremendous horror movie, an original slasher film that a lot of different Halloween, a lot of different movies take from that. A Stranger in the House, if you remember the scene where, why haven't you checked on the children? Check on the children. Anyway, that came from this movie. It was just a blatant ripoff, basically. Anyway, great film by Bob Clark. Coincidentally, the same director who directed A Christmas Story did that, and that film stars Margot Kidder and Andrea Martin from SCTV. And before I go on, Dirty, what else as far as Christmas specials? Anything cartoony? Anything that kind of reminds you of your childhood a little bit, or?
No, those animated, stop motion animated movies used to come out. Great movies. I'll just say Home Alone. I like watching that every year too, because the first one reminds me of Chicago. I also like Christmas Vacation, because that's another one that reminds me of Chicago.
Very good.
That's why I like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, because it reminds me of Chicago, especially John Candy. He alone is like a holiday. He's like such a warm actor, comedian,
Absolutely.
funny guy.
Sorely missed.
Yeah. But, I just like seeing the families out. I used to like, I think Chicago lights up. It's just, they go all out despite how shitty you may feel. It's just kind of nice walking around Mag Mile, checking stuff out.
Yeah, especially too, there's a difference between if you grew up in a small, I grew up in mostly small towns. I lived in Worcester, Mass for a year with my family, then moved out to a small town called Sturbridge. There, boy, you were just really, the whole town kind of shuts down for Christmas. As the opposite for if you're in Chicago, there's lots of different nationalities of people. Some people may celebrate their own type of holiday around this time. but there's lots of restaurants open, certainly for Christmas. I mean, if you want to order some food, if you want some Chinese food or something like that on the holidays, which, by the way, more than just like Burger King. You know, most towns have like a Burger King maybe that's open for a couple of hours. But it's funny is that growing up, we always went to my grandmother's place, talking about in Worcester, Massachusetts, for New Year's Eve, which was the big thing, and she would make like a big pot of meatballs with sauce, and she would bake like Rice Krispie treats and chocolate chip cookies. Everyone would bring over some dishes and stuff. And then finally, I think when I was getting into high school, she was like, I'm tired of cooking, no more cooking. Basically, as soon as my grandpa passed away, and she started ordering Chinese food.
Nice.
And somebody would go, pick up the Chinese food, and it was so easy. You just put out, all the different containers, and everyone takes a little bit, and everyone's happy. You still have a couple of desserts. So do you remember sort of growing up any annual activities that happen around Christmas time that you look forward to?
Yeah, it's like it kind of goes through stages with my life, but first part of my life, it was like we'd all go to my cousins or my uncles, and I lived in LA. I lived in a town called Monrovia, so we go to another town where my uncle and aunt lived. They lived in Sierra Madre, which is like in the mountains, and so it was real pretty. They had a really pretty house. It was so 1970s style too. When you see if you watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the way all the houses are, if you check it out, that's how my uncle's house is, and it's got a pool and everything, and everybody come over, all my cousins, and it was pretty good, real huge event, and that's how I always remembered as a kid. Like that's how I always thought of Christmas. It's like a huge thing, and then as I got older, it kind of thinned out, but
right. Same thing here. Like when you get older, with my family, on my mom's side, it's Irish Catholic and a mixture of, my grandpa was, I don't know, French, and there's a little Native American blood in there.
Yeah.
But basically it was such a huge thing, Christmas Eve, as well as, Thanksgiving, 4th of July. Easter wasn't quite as big, but Christmas Eve was such a huge thing. Every year we would all pile into my grandma's house, big, like 3-story house. And it was so exciting. We'd usually get there first, seeing all my cousins come in, and we would just start running around and having a great time. And then through the years, though, we're talking about the 80s. Basically, I moved there in 1979. As we got older, though, I moved away to St. Louis and then Chicago. And I went home every year for 10 years back there, and then really slowed down my activity as far as going out of town, traveling for Christmas. And it's really nice actually staying home these days. But a lot of people did that on my mom's family on that side. They started going over to the in-laws' house maybe instead of talking about my cousins as they got older. Started going to the in-laws' house. Maybe they would stop by just for an hour and leave or something. And it just, as time went on, I guess it wasn't the same. Eventually, unfortunately, my grandma passed away at 99, which was just a couple of years ago. But even leading up to that, 99. Leading up to that, there had been much less activity around there for holidays for obvious reasons. As she was getting older, she didn't want as much company and stuff like that. But, I'll never forget that. As a kid, going over there, and it was just an automatic thing, and it was really cool that you knew you were going to see your family during certain times of year. You knew that most Easters, 4th of July, certainly my grandma put a pool in, a little tiny above-ground pool. That's when I was maybe 9, and all the kids would go over there for starting a Memorial Day through 4th of July and Labor Day. So it's just a very warm, family-friendly, until the aunts and uncles got drunk. Because that was certainly Irish Catholic. Surprise! In fact, I joke around about how one year it was Thanksgiving. We showed up it was either Thanksgiving or Christmas, and we showed up with both my uncles who had this love-hate relationship, Uncle Rich and Uncle John. Completely funny. They got drunk, I guess. Then, well, first of all, we get there on the holiday, and they both had black eyes on the other side of it. One had a left black eye, one had a right, and we're like, well, who'd you guys get into a fight with? And they refused to say it. Somebody said finally that they got into a fight with each other. They knocked each other out. So, oh boy.
Wow. Nice.
That was so that was those were the times. We used to actually, my cousins and I would sit down in the basement and make fun of our aunts and uncles as they'd come down for another beer. They'd get a little more tipsy, and
nice.
we'd kind of hit them a little harder every time they come down with jokes and insults and stuff. So, anyway, yeah, warm times. Do you have any? Speaking of booze, booze is a big thing around Christmas. Do you like any special Christmas drinks? Do you like eggnog, brandy drinks, maybe anything like that?
Yeah, I like that.
What about any of like the coffee, like Starbucks special drinks, peppermint mochas?
I like the pumpkin lattes that they put out.
Love them. Absolutely.
Gingerbread isn't too bad. I kind of get pretty festive with the drinks. So,
you used to be, I wouldn't say addicted, but you used to really, Starbucks used to be your brand as far as the little frappuccinos. You worked there, of course, for a while. And do you still partake in Starbucks as much, or are you really more of a home coffee drinker these days?
I drink it up until lately, but I mean, I would buy the stuff, or I drink whatever, like as long as it's strong, but we try to do our own thing. I usually just get a regular cup of coffee and then hook it up with like chocolate almond milk.
Nice.
Yeah,
delicious.
Yeah.
It's something where I'm sort of semi-retired. For some years, I worked in medical records departments in hospitals for a contractor and would travel all around Chicago. And if there was a lot of the hospitals have a Starbucks in them. And I would go and grab like a tall or grande, whatever the biggest one is.
Venti.
Coffee with just like maybe caramel, like a shot of caramel. And at like 5, I would get off at like say 5 to 6 o'clock. If I got off at like 7, that's too late. But even if I got off at 5 o'clock, if we're talking about an hour and a half ride home, which I do not miss doing, by the way, those long commutes. But if I did have a long ride home like that, I would go to Starbucks and grab just a giant coffee. And by the time I got home, I had to pee so bad it was like I was itching to like do. But it really made the drive home a lot better, and it really made me stay alert, because after a day of work, a lot of people are just kind of tired. Your eyes are kind of tired and looking at the screen all day. But anyway, I'm more of a home coffee drinker these days. Certainly, I make some fabulous, every once in a while, put a little caramel in with a coffee or chocolate and put a little whipped cream on top. Any other, did you get into, have you ever baked and made any like holiday special Christmas cookies or pies or?
No, like that's more my wife's thing. She does all the baking and all that. She doesn't like when I cook, so.
I don't do much baking myself either, so I understand.
But,
so what does she make that you look forward to during the holidays?
Her stuffing, and then she hooks up the turkey, not muffins, but like biscuits and
cupcakes,
ham, and
like any desserts.
Yeah, cupcakes, and then my youngest daughter brings over. She's a cook now, and she's very proud of it, so she brings stuff over. And then what else we'll do is we'll go to my other mother-in-law, and she's a baker. Even at like 78, she'll ask ahead of time, what does Sean like, and then she'll make a pie for me or whatever I like, and
nice.
Get kind of spoiled, yeah.
Well, how about, speaking of which, Giving gifts, getting gifts. Do you have a favorite Christmas gift or a couple of them? Do you remember getting as a kid that you were like something you wanted and you're just like, yeah, you got it, and went to your room and played with it all day after you got it? What was your favorite gifts that you got that you can remember?
So I was one of those kids where back in the day I would be considered really odd because I really wanted a Barbie bus, a Barbie motorhome, because I liked how big it was because it was like this huge fucking vehicle and I used to ride it. And so my mom had to hide it at the neighbors, and then they assembled it there and then brought it over.
Wow, cool. That is the thing, hiding the gifts, because I'll tell you what, like, I think about that and I'm like, boy, if you're a parent, like, yeah, I mean, maybe just once a year, but staying up all night on Christmas Eve to assemble gifts would be difficult. So that's funny that they did hide it at your neighbor's house. So, yeah, man, any of those, when you're a kid, like today, I think kids are asking for like phones and electronics and like some real expensive stuff. But like when I was a kid, if I got like, I was into like figures and cars and all kinds. Like I remember getting like a Matchbox or Hot Wheels Car City, and basically it was like 2 or 3 decker. It folded, so it wasn't, you know, it wasn't that hard to put away. But like, you know, I had like maybe 40 different Matchbox cars, and my cousin would come over often during the holidays, especially that week when you're a kid in between Christmas and New Year's, where you have that week off. I think actually, if I remember right, do they have 2 weeks off for I think it's like Christmas week and New Year's week. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I remember that.
One of those weeks, my cousin would come over usually, and we'd set up the big Matchbox City thing. We'd pick our cars, we'd pick characters, we'd name ourselves different names. We'd have, what do you do for a living? I'm a reporter for the local news. I'm a rock star, whatever it is. And we pick our cars appropriately and make up these fictional worlds that we would create either with that or with like G.I. Joe or He-Man. You get the He-Man castle or the Castle of Grayskull, I believe.
Yeah.
Those are some of my favorite things. And then maybe like a bike when I got a bike. And then later on, of course, I remember getting Dokken was my favorite band when I was like 12, 13 years old before I got into like Metallica and Slayer and stuff like that. With Dokken?
Really? Dokken was your like first favorite band?
Yeah, for like a year or two, yeah. They were good. Them and Ozzy, I would say. I know yours was Accept, but I can laugh at that one.
Accept was later. My first favorite band was Kiss, and then
well, of course, that was like when I was like 5 years old or something.
Exactly, dude.
Yeah. Well, I was about 12 or 13 once I cared about how good the guitar player was and how, you know, once that came around, then Dokken was better than Kiss. But yeah, I think it was Back for the Attack, and I remember it came out a couple of months before Christmas, and I had to wait for it, and then I finally got it, and I listened to it all day. Fabulous little, I think I mentioned before about my dad used to get me like comic books on, like audio comic books, basically.
Nice.
And I told you the story before about my first. I think the first one I can really remember was when I was like 5, 6 years old, and when we had moved out to Sturbridge, and I got a Batman stacked cards. It was a comic book and a little record. It wasn't a comic book on tape yet. It was this little 45 single. It was maybe like 20 minutes long. You can find it on YouTube these days. It's so awesome. And it was actually so scary when I was a kid. I mean, they were talking about Batman and Robin were like talking about giving the Joker a frontal lobotomy because he was murdering people, and security guards were getting dusted off, and it was a really adult-like comic. Yeah, I loved it. And that really kind of made me addicted to those. And he also gave me another thing you can find on YouTube, Alfred Hitchcock's Ghost Stories for Young People, which is great entertainment. And he was really, I have to say, between that and some different Hardy Boys things, he gave me some great books on tape to kind of try to get me into books because I just didn't like them so much when I was a little kid. Um, but yeah, what else? What about your favorite gift that you gave somebody?
Oh man, wow. Trying to think. That's a hard one. I have to go through over the years.
No,
Like,
no. How about this? Why don't you think about it? I'll give mine. Like, and if you can't, then don't worry about it. But I remember I did work at a factory that my father was the vice president, I want to say, of a toy company for quite a long time. And I went in there and did some different jobs with the company there. While I was going through college, and one of them was to basically take the parts that were sent back to us from the retail stores, take the working parts, save them, and then basically put them into a new toy that we got that if a cassette wasn't working, if a certain part of the toy wasn't working, I would be able to put the working part from another toy into this non-working part of a otherwise good toy and make it work, and I would send those out as refurbished toys. What I did one year is I think that was a year I think that I came back for New Year's instead of Christmas. And what I did is I sent back to all of my nieces and nephews on the East Coast. I feel horrible because I didn't do that on the West Coast. I think everyone was older though, and my cousins didn't have kids yet. But I sent back a huge box of random toys, little kids' computers and learning activities, talking dolls, and just said, "Can you guys please figure out who gets what?" And it was just this big, huge box of toys. Everyone, the kids, supposedly just went nuts when this box opened and out pulls all of these like little fabulous computers with maybe 40 to 50 different activities on it. So that was
nice.
my favorite that I can remember. But we can move on to let's do another portion of Christmas. We got gifts, we got food, we got movies and songs. Entry I want to make about as far as entertainment or cartoons, different holiday favorites. Charlie Brown represented sort of.
Yeah.
We're gonna go into Christmas hardships for just a little segment here. Don't want to be negative.
Yeah.
You remember that? Like Charlie Brown had a special basically for every holiday.
Yeah.
My favorite is Thanksgiving. Most people's favorite is the Great Pumpkin. The Christmas one I think is not so great, but I still watch though. It's okay. But it has this melancholy. Well, there's always a melancholy vibe to Charlie Brown specials because he's a depressed little kid. And Christmas time, even the song "Christmas Time is Here Again."
Right.
Da, 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 da. It's kind of a downer song a little bit.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of how Christmas time is hopefully great for everybody, as many people as possible. But once in a while, people, even happy people, could have a down Christmas here or there.
Right.
I really feel for people that really do not look forward to Christmas. It's one thing if you're just a massive consumer and you just you're stressed out because of the kids and the gifts and all that kind of stuff. It's part of the gig. But if you're talking about people that are just perpetually lonely during the holidays, I really feel for those people, and I luckily am not. I'm going to talk about this in a minute, but Dirty, I want you to. You told me a story before about when you first moved to Chicago, how you had a kind of a Christmas where you were a little bit lonely. It wasn't started off as not the best Christmas. Can you tell us a little bit about that Christmas?
Yeah, it was just kind of rough. My second Christmas in Chicago, and I didn't go home to my mom, so I stayed and hung out with friends or coworkers. One of my coworkers was the daughter of Mr. McFeely, the postman on Mr. Rogers' show. So I thought that was pretty
Oh,
funny, but it was, you know, everybody passed out because they were drunk, and so I was just sitting up late at night, and then I left pretty early in the morning because I was like, and so went for a walk, and it was like, it just dumped, so it was like, it's like snowy, it was kind of lonely because like even Chicago shuts down a little bit in some places, so it's just kind of like, and my friend who I'd worked with before the restaurant, she was like, hey, you want to hang out and stuff, and she let me come in. We had some coffee and just watched holiday movies and talked, and but it was really nice and just simple and just a sweet gesture, and it, you know, and I can say that on different occasions, you know, people are really randomly nice, you know, but yeah, it was nice, you know, it was just pleasant and kind of made for the moment, you know.
yeah. It seems like everybody's had at least a couple of those. Even though, like I said, if you normally look forward to the holiday, even if whatever the situation is, obviously, some kids, I do feel lucky as a kid. Not about everything, but one thing I feel lucky for is I did get some really nice Christmas presents, and there's plenty of kids that got a pack of gum or something for Christmas. Some kids that did, you know, that live in different types of homes and stuff like that, or you know, if they're going through something with their family, whatever the situation is, Christmas should be a happy time for kids, and for those that it's not, I definitely feel for them. And being an adult is different because I don't really care about gifts as much. It's really about feeling loved, I guess, right?
Right.
This is a time period besides maybe your birthday, just a day of the year, that and New Year's, which by the way, we will have a New Year's special where we'll all also wrap up the year of 2023. But it's just a time period where you do want to feel loved. And I don't know if anybody's ever had that Christmas where, I think I had a Christmas in there where nobody texted me or called me, or no Merry Christmases or something like that.
Yeah.
But anybody that's went through that, it's rough. I could tell you one Christmas that it was about close to 10 years ago. And in 2010, I got engaged to my future wife, but we didn't get married right away. We had some hardships that happened and circumstances that really tore us apart. And I moved out in 2015 and moved downtown to Oak Street Beach, which was not as glamorous as anybody that lives in Chicago as it sounds. I lived at Oak and Dearborn. It was a major part of Chicago, walked all around that area and did enjoy some of it. It was really beautiful during the holidays, super clean, a little bit of snow dusting, awesome lights and different Christmas decorations. But I can tell you that my fiance and I had split up, and I was in this new little apartment, and Christmas Eve came around, and I went down to do laundry because I didn't have anything else to do on Christmas Eve. And I noticed that A Christmas Story was on. And what I did is it was just about over, and it was a TNT one that runs 24 hours. So I sat down there and waited for it to start up again, and I watched it once all the way through while I was doing laundry on Christmas Eve, down alone in the laundry room, which was, you know, that was, Let's just say I hoped for better Christmases during that Christmas. And to take that a little bit further, I did move back in. I started dating my ex-fiance again in 2017, where we started becoming friends again. 2018, we started to date. 2019, we became engaged again, and I moved back in. Unfortunately, right after we married, she passed away in 2021, and a surprise. It was really just a, nobody saw it coming really. So that first Christmas that she passed away, and if anybody has loved ones that have passed away, you do think about that during the holidays. That first Christmas that she was gone was really horrible, and it was so horrible because I had proposed to her a second time 2 years before that. We're talking about 2021. She had passed by August of that year, and I proposed to her again on Christmas Eve of 2019 when I was moved in. So I just made it extra special, sad. In fact, I'm not going to stay on the topic too long because it is still sad to talk about. But last Christmas I did have a much better Christmas, and this Christmas I have plenty of things to look forward to. It's just, again, I feel for the people out there that do have loved ones that have passed on when it comes to Christmas time. Hopefully you get past the sadness part, which will never leave, but your mindset really can focus more on being thankful for the years that you did have. Wow.
You okay?
Sorry, yeah, it just hit me there for a second. Well, anyway, you can feel thankful for the people you still have in your life that you love.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
Usually I'm able to talk about this without getting choked up these days. That's why I thought I could do it. But anyway, to bring it back around to something positive, when you have people in your life that you loved so much that you feel like that, it can be good when you get to the point where you start to feel thankful that you felt so strongly about them in the first place. And the love doesn't go away, and it'll always be there. And not to be corny, but I'd rather have loved and lost something than to never have that come around at all. So, well, let's try to bring this around to something, again, a little bit more positive. There's not actually too much more dirty. There's not too much more on the plate here as far as subjects to talk about with Christmas. We've gone through like gifts, different holiday songs and movies and stuff like that. And just as a special side, I'm thankful, Dirty, you and I have reconnected. To anybody out there, too, that if you have friends that you haven't talked to in a while, when you get older, hey, reconnect with them, man. It can be a very positive experience. Actually, when people move away from a certain area, I mean, Dirty, you moved away from Chicago. We drifted apart, so we weren't around each other, and then all of a sudden we got reconnected, which was fabulous.
Yeah.
Now we got the show, so very happy for that. So for anybody out there, it's really about family, friends, your loved ones, and the people that are close to you that love you. And if you feel loved, that's a great thing.
Oh my God, I agree with you. And I mean, I like 2 years ago, I lost my mom, and it was in the same month of Christmas, and then last year my wife got sick. That was a cold. That was a stomach flu, and ended up being this serious infection. She had to get surgery. We're in the hospital for like 2 weeks. I missed our entire Christmas, and it's something that like we look forward to. Especially as I get older, I could give a shit about anything else. I'm really not even. I'm getting less and less materialistic. Like
Totally.
I appreciate most of all the people in my life and like my family, you and all my Chicago family, and that's the thing I value more. It's just because you lose shit, you could lose shit, you could get shit stolen, you get shit destroyed from whatever, but it's the people, because for me, my life isn't shit without the people that've been in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just, I can't agree with you more, and I appreciate you sharing that. I know I was really taken back by everything that happened with you, and that's what kind of it was like it came to me, and it was like, which I had, obviously I need to talk to you and be reconnected, because it just, for me, it's a reconnect. It's it's like a thing that's in your heart or whatever, and you yearn for these people that make you happy, that put a smile on your face and show you love. And it was just like, I try to keep those people in my life, and we could do months of a series of just the good times that we've had, and just our experiences. And it's just that's why I appreciate Christmas more. And in this place in my life right now, I'm older. It's cool being like the older person, and now I'm a grandpa, so it's even cooler. So it's just like, and to live that long, I've always wanted to live at least long enough to be a grandparent, and and my granddaughter is like, she's amazing, dreamed of, kind of person, and so that to live long enough where you could see this, and on the holidays you really appreciate that stuff. You look back, you're with the ones you love, and it's just it's beautiful, Like I am more into buying things for people and for making efforts to see people, and especially on the holidays, and that's the fucking exciting part. Like when we have everybody over, and especially for my wife, it's she lost her son, and so like it's like we're really even more, especially her, she really has to be around family. Like we really get close and tight, and so it's so.
Yeah, I mean, we'd urge anyone out there, if you're listening, if there's a friend you haven't talked to in a while, or anybody, even if it's just a simple text. Some people may think it's not personal enough or something like that. I consider it the modern equivalent of the Christmas card. For people that, it's just an easy way to reach out and say, hey, Merry Christmas. I'm thinking about you. I miss you. Hope you're doing well. I love to do it to family and friends. And just to follow up too on the the materialistic part of Christmas, I long ago let go of the gift giving and the gift receiving, and I basically told everyone, let's not exchange gifts. Just say hi. Just tell me you love me. Let's have a drink. Let's have have a dinner or whatever it is, that you can, to be together. And you know what? It made Christmas so much more enjoyable to let go of that chore of having to find the right gift. And I don't know about you guys, but how many times that you've given somebody a gift, it's happened before where I give them a gift and if somehow they don't like it or it's not the right thing, and they kind of look at it and like, oh, gee, thanks. And it's not that they're meaning to say thanks for nothing. It's just that, it's not really, it's something either they already have or they don't really want in the first place. Or so just letting go of all that and just keeping Christmas for what it is with family, friends, loved ones, is really kind of, to me, a beautiful thing. So, and I'm trying to think of anything else to talk about for Christmas. Gertie, do you have anything to add to our discussion about Christmas? It seems a little short because we could keep going on, but
no, I mean, I had a lot of great Christmases in Chicago. I had I think a couple times we've been there. We had a friend, we had this friend who were a couple. We'd go to their place and hang out. Call them Double A. We had spent time with them, and you'd come over to. I don't know, or maybe you'd gone out of town still, but I'd go to my friend Keith, and then he got married, so him and his wife, and everybody would come over. And it was always nice. It was yet again, it was a nice, warm feeling when I had made friends with them, and in my mid to late 20s, started having Christmases again and looking forward to it. Because I was younger, man, especially my teens. Like Christmas was so depressing. It was just me and my mom. It was rough with my mom, and she would just cry a lot.
Oh, that's rough.
hang out. It's just not her fault. I don't blame her, but it just was not very festive when I got older. And so, in my 20s, when I meet people and they'd invite me over or, whatever, it was nice, and everybody was so sweet and warm and just festive, and you're together. I was not so lonely, So yeah, I appreciate all that shit.
Yeah,
nice.
I do. Yeah, that's cool, man. I do remember when I was born in Seattle, moved to Massachusetts for when I was 5, 6, and then when I was 18, I left and moved to St. Louis with my dad. My parents were divorced at that point. There was one Christmas where my brother Phil, from the West Coast, who basically he's like an executive, way upper executive for a big insurance company. And he is basically works 24/7. But he came out to visit me and my dad there. I took him to a Christmas party. I'm not going to say what happened there. Let's just say it was a lot of laughs and it was a lot of fun, and I'll leave it at that.
Wait, hooked up with somebody?
Well, let's just say this. He's not going to listen to it in his life. We're talking about 30 years ago. Let's just say me and him didn't end the night alone on Christmas Eve. Because anyway, very, very funny. But for Christmas Day, my dad instead of making like the traditional turkey dinner, this was great. He grilled bone-in ribeye steaks that he marinated overnight.
Okay. Yeah.
And he served it with asparagus. He actually made, and my dad doesn't bake, he's like me, he doesn't bake at all. He made a homemade chocolate chip cheesecake with a chocolate graham crust. And we're not talking about like a Jell-O cheesecake or something. We're talking about a real cheesecake. I was amazed by it. To this day, it's one of the best dinners I've ever had. My brother being there was great. Another thing, I used to go home for Christmas, like I said. That one with my brother is one where I went for New Year's instead of Christmas. But there's one Christmas with my mom where everyone would bring a dish to my grandma's for Christmas Eve. She got a big, humongous piles and piles of chicken wings and basically just baked them in the oven. And when she did, I think something happened, and maybe we had a couple glasses of champagne, and she fell asleep for a while. I just know that she left them in much longer than she meant to. She wanted to cook them for like an hour and a half. She ended up cooking them for like 3 hours with barbecue sauce on them. So we went in, she's like, oh, these are going to be ruined and horrible. She pulled them out and let them sit for a minute. And I said, hey, do you mind if I try these? She thought they were ruined. They were the most tender, flavorful Christmas, chicken wings that I've ever had. She had to stop me eating them because they were supposed to be the dish we were bringing to Christmas. And of course, immediately we bring them there. She reheats them in the oven for a few minutes, puts them back out, and everyone just starts wolfing them down, saying, what the hell are these chicken wings? She used like Kraft barbecue sauce on chicken wings, and that's it. And they were just, they were to die for. So that was another Christmas dish or meal that was just unforgettable. So I think we're going on about an hour here for Christmas. We can keep going on. And look, this isn't, I'm sure next year we'll do another Christmas episode. We'll have some more stories to tell. So one last thing I want to say, though, I do want to say hello. I will be doing so in a more of a private forum to my friends and my family, my dad's family on the West Coast, which is in California and Washington, my mom's family on the East Coast, primarily in Massachusetts, and I'm here in Chicago, Dirty in Alaska. We want to one last thing, I did notice here, some Christmas time, just time of the year festivities in some other parts of the world. And I noticed some festivals around the world that I thought were very interesting because I was looking at different festivals. One of them is one called Festival of the Ass. Believe it or not, there is a festival, holiday festival called the Festival of the Ass. And it was in the Middle Ages. The Festival of the Ass was held on Christmas Eve, recalling Joseph and Mary's flight into Egypt. A young girl with a baby in her arms entered the church riding an ass or a donkey During Mass, all the prayers ended with hee-haw. The Catholic Church banned this celebration because of its sacrilegious character. Not surprised by that. There's also something called Festival of the Madman.
Oh, nice.
There used to be a Festival of the Madman on Christmas Day when servants became masters and masters servants for the day. Talking about that would be Purge Part 2 in a lot of parts of the world. You're talking about that.
Right.
But anyway, everybody, we want to wish you guys a Merry Christmas. If you're in Northern Europe, we wish you well with your annual Wicked Tree Festival. We want to give some birthday wishes to Jesus Christ and Krishna. And to everyone, we want to say Merry Christmas, Crazy Kwanzaa, Rockin' Ramadan, Happy Hanukkah, and basically Happy Holidays. Thank you so much, guys. Take care. We'll talk to you next time.
Rock and roll. Merry Christmas.